here's probably my favorite topic as far as quadratic equations. I don't know why I like it so much. I think it just makes so much sense. So if you draw a U-shaped graph, if you draw a parabola, there's up to two possible solutions. Because if you think about it, that's a U-shaped graph. So how many times can the U-shaped graph cross the x-axis, or even a line, or, there's different things. How many times could it cross? It can cross 2 times. You can see that right here. Here's one solution. There's the second solution. Now, is it possible just for it to touch the x-axis and then go right back up? Yes. So that would be a case in which we have one solution. And then no solution, you can draw it upside down, or you can draw it right side up. But right there, both of these are an example where it doesn't even cross the x-axis at all. So these are the possibilities. Now, what's an easy way to figure out how many solutions are we going to have? Well, if you remember the quadratic formula, well, first off, when do we use the quadratic formula? So when we use the quadratic formula is if we have a quadratic that is of the form ax squared plus bx plus c, standard form, but it equals 0. Key thing there is that it equals 0. So we want to find those zeros. In other words, we want to find those x-intercepts. We use the quadratic formula. And the formula is actually negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Okay. So that's the quadratic formula. So where do we get two solutions from? Well, the two solutions come from the plus or minus. So if you plug in your numbers and we get a positive square root, then you're going to get two solutions because you're going to add it and subtract it. But here's the thing. What happens if you plug something into here and we end up with a negative number? Can we take the square root of a negative number? No, we can't. What happens if you end up with the square root of a negative like 10? You can't square root that. And that's the case in which we have no solutions. So we have something here called the discriminant. And so the discriminant is b squared minus 4ac. And so you don't really have to memorize a new formula. It's just the inside of the square root. And so if this discriminant is negative, then you have no solution. If it's 0, you have one solution. Now, why is that? Well, because think about it. Let's just say we plug some numbers in and we get 2 plus or minus the square root of 0. And let me put this here, over 4. Then you get 2 plus 0 over 4 and 2 minus 0 over 4. Those are your two solutions. Well, 2 plus 0 and 2 minus 0, aren't those the same exact number? So that's when you end up with just one solution, because we end up adding and subtracting 0. It doesn't change anything. And then if it's a positive, then we're able to square root it, and we just add and subtract whatever that is, so we end up with two solutions. And that's the discriminant for you. So how do we use this? So, well, the discriminant is b squared minus 4ac. So if we want to find that value, you just plug them in. Here's a, here's b, and here's c. So we'll have 10 squared minus 4 times 6 times negative 1, which is 100, and then plus 24, which is 124. So that answers that, 124. So since it's a positive number, we're going to have two solutions. Same thing here. So our discriminant b squared minus 4ac. So we're going to do negative 10 squared minus 4 times 25 times 1. So that's 100 minus 100. That gives us 0, not 6, 0. So we'll have exactly 1 solution. These questions are a little bit interesting. Look at this. If it has, how many solutions does it have? It just touches the x-axis, so it has 1 solution. So that means that the discriminant must be 0, because that's what gives us 1 solution, right? If we go back up to this right here, if the discriminant is 0, you have 1 solution. Or over here, we have no solution. So our discriminant must be negative.